On Friday, May 22nd, the mayor of New Brighton, Minnesota, Valerie Johnson, made some very troubling statements overall, but none more troubling than the bulk of her comments, which were directed at local Christian faith communities. In this video, we're going to listen to what Mayor Johnson has to say and react to the Ms. Mayor's comments. What we will see here is precisely the problem with people in elected positions today. They have forgotten their place and they are out of their depth. None more so than this woman and the governor that she bows to.
Good afternoon, New Brightonites. This week, Governor Walz outlined additional steps that public-facing businesses, churches, camps, and other programs can begin to take to start to reopen. There are three categories of business that greatly impact or are of most interest to our business and citizen communities: salons and tattoo shops, restaurants, and churches.
Ms. Mayor, here's part of your problem. The United States Constitution doesn't consider religion a business, and neither should you. Churches are not a business. Now, there are churches or Christian figures, I use the term Christian very loosely, that treat it like a business, but it is not a business. And your use of the word business to describe church or churches, how should I say this? It really betrays your exact thought on the matter. It's very clear where you come from on this.
I would like to address how the city is working to help each business safely reopen. Salons will be allowed to reopen on June 1st at 25% capacity. This is 25% of their building capacity and not necessarily the number of stations or chairs in their shops. Our own public safety department is proactively contacting each shop and giving them the data that they need to make this determination. As the salons reopen, the employees will be the best experts on what it will take to safely visit your salon.
Ms. Mayor, and for everyone who might watch this, all 10 of you, this is a fundamental point that I'm going to bring up and drive home when we get to the part where she begins to address churches. Listen to what she has said here. The employees of the salons will be trusted to do what is best for the health and safety of both the staff of the salon as well as for the clientele, for the customer base, if you will. This is fundamental. This is incredibly important. And while I would argue about a lot of things when it comes to how much control should the government at any level, be it local or at the county level or at the state level or at the federal level, how much control any of those entities should have over business, this is a clear statement of trust the staff, and that's going to come into play here in just a little bit.
Please listen to the instructions and follow them no matter what your personal thoughts are on wearing a mask or not having your hair dried. Your cooperation is their success. Restaurants are very important to New Brighton residents. I think the entire council might agree that our number one request as it relates to business development is to get more restaurants to come to New Brighton. That is why, in this time of interrupted business due to COVID-19, we need to do our part to help the current restaurateurs survive and stay in our city. Surprisingly, the governor announced on Wednesday that restaurants could open, but only for outside dining. Not surprisingly, New Brighton is ahead of the game. On Tuesday night, the Planning Commission met and approved a zoning change that allows for the temporary use of outdoor seating at New Brighton restaurants. The ordinance will come before the council on Tuesday night, and I expect that the council will approve it. We are ahead of most cities in that we are prepared to legally and appropriately allow our restaurants to operate under the rules laid out in the governor's directive.
The reason why, Ms. Mayor, you need to help restaurateurs survive and stay in your city is because you, as the local magistrate, and I know that word's foreign to you, Ms. Mayor, the reason why this is so important is because you've allowed government overreach, both at your level and at the state and probably county level, to drive these businesses into the ground. You've allowed this. So on one hand, you say you would like to see more restaurants come to town. On the other hand, you've allowed restaurants to be decimated. This is on you. You could have resisted the tyranny of the governor and said, no, we will protect the businesses of New Brighton, Minnesota. But you chose not to. Now you're going to work with the businesses to help them survive. You should have been helping them from the outset by protecting them from government overreach at the state level. That is what you should have done as a person who swore an oath to defend the Constitution both at the state of Minnesota and at the federal level. This is on you, Ms. Mayor. You should be facing civil and criminal prosecution on this. And as everyone knows, you're not foreign to the concept of criminal prosecution. I would also add, Ms. Mayor, that these interruptions are not due to COVID-19. These interruptions are due to, once again, the lesser magistrates allowing these things to happen. COVID-19 didn't do this. Government overreach, tyranny, arbitrary decisions made by elected servants caused this.
In addition, serving alcohol in an outside patio setting has historically required a $600 permit. But beyond already refunding liquor license fees, we will also be waiving this fee to help offset the expenses of setting up an outside patio and easing the pain of limited sales due to limited seating.
Ms. Mayor, this is your problem. And this is a problem of most people in elected positions, and also the bureaucrats who are appointed or hired. Why do we need to charge $600 to license an establishment to sell alcohol? Period. Now, I'm not saying there shouldn't be regulation to some degree about who can buy and who can't buy. The consumption of alcohol is not a right per se that is guaranteed and enumerated. But the $600 fee to get a piece of paper that grants you permission to sell is ridiculous, for one. And now you're showing how magnanimous you are by waiving that fee and waiving other fees. Fees that are arbitrary and asinine, if you will. And you want somehow for businesses to applaud you. The businesses are what makes your city survive. They're your tax base. Now, you have residents that clearly pay property taxes, but the businesses in your town are your financial base. They bring revenue in. They bring people into your town who wouldn't necessarily spend money. And now you're acting all high and mighty because you're going to waive fees and you're going to change ordinances to allow them to do seating outside. They own that property. It's theirs. And short of doing things that are flatly illegal, literally illegal, and illegality looked at from a moral perspective, not from an arbitrary, well, we couldn't collect fees from you, so therefore it's illegal, but an actual moral understanding of legality versus illegality. Now you're acting like you're doing them a favor? Miss Mayor, you need to understand you are way out of your depth here. Miss Mayor, you are a mini little tyrant. And you want your serfs, you want your subjects to applaud you for being so kind and magnanimous, for throwing them breadcrumbs. I don't know, Miss Mayor, if you're familiar with the French Revolution, but you need to familiarize yourself with what happened there. Do you maybe recall the phrase, let them eat cake? Because that's how you're acting right now, Josephine.
As these restaurants start to open, you will need a reservation. You will have to wear a mask when not eating or drinking, and you will have to limit the number of people at your table. And of course, you will have to practice physical distancing. It is imperative, not only for your safety, but for the success of these openings, that we follow the rules. Be kind and understanding. And finally, churches. As announced on Wednesday by the governor, churches can open on June 1st with a maximum of 10 people in attendance. A couple of faith communities have announced that they will be opening on May 26th and have indicated that they will not follow the governor's orders and have introduced their own plans to offer a safe experience in church.
There again, Miss Mayor, you are not understanding your job as a lesser magistrate. You are again out of your depth. You had every right and actually legal responsibility to resist the governor on this. And to say that we need to follow the rules that are given by the governor is ridiculous. The governor does not have legislative power. The governor doesn't have the power to make or pass law. And you need to recognize that. Just like you don't have the power to make or pass any laws. You, Ms. Mayor, are not there as an executive to determine what is legal and what is illegal. Your job is to determine that people are following legitimate, constitutionally valid laws. You're not doing that. That's your problem. You are out of your depth.
So let me explain something to you.
How condescending can you be? Let me explain something to you. It's your job to enforce the law whether you agree with it or not. It's not a law, madam. It's not a law. You should know that. You're holding public office. The governor's orders, edicts, arbitrary demands are not law. Moreover, you serve by the consent of the people who elected you. You should be counseling with them to find out if they're okay with this. And once again, you're about to, how should we say, threaten with force anyone who dare defy.
It is our job to enforce the law whether we agree with the law or not. And I am not here to make any judgment on these communities. I hope the governor, legislators, or the courts can come up with a unified message on the topic. But for right now, these decisions are going to fall on the backs of our public safety department to enforce. That is the law. All along, I have asked you to follow the directives coming from the state. I'm going to ask the same of you again, and please not put our beloved public safety department in the awkward and unpopular position of coming between enforcing the law and the needs of the faithful.
Madam Mayor, Ms. Mayor, you're the one who's putting the public safety department, law enforcement, constitutional oath keepers in the awkward position of the law. Once again, there is no law here. This isn't a law. It's arbitrary edicts and commands of a person who has pretended to be king. And you are acting as one of his vassals, if you will. Gladly doing whatever he says because it's given you a smidgen of power. Once again, you should be removed from office along with the governor.
Please don't go to church, and please continue to worship from home. Let's wait for permission before going back to church.
let's wait for permission before going back to church. What? I don't need permission from anyone to gather for worship. I might have issues with pastors who continue to comply with the state's demands, but that is an absolutely asinine statement. I don't need permission, Madam Mayor, and neither do the people of your city. This is terrifying. If you can stop this, what can't you do? And I think you know that. I think you like it. And I think you relish the power.
Monday is Memorial Day. Our thanks to all veterans, but especially to those honored men and women who gave their lives for our country. And lastly, congratulations to all the graduates in our community. We are proud of you and we wish you a lifetime of great success. Be safe, New Brighton, and thank you.
The irony of the close of this is that graduates weren't able to graduate together and celebrate their accomplishment as a class because you, Madam Mayor, Ms. Mayor, have allowed the governor to destroy that joyous moment for them. Moreover, the deeper and sadder irony of all of this is that you just acknowledged the veterans, many of whom which have died in service of their country, in the defense of this nation, from foreign enemies and domestic enemies, who have died in the upholding of their constitutional oaths. Do you understand the irony of that? Tacking that on to the end of your little tyrannical speech does not make you aware, nor does it make you a patriot. It makes you incredibly, and I don't know how else to say this, but ironically imbecilic. You are an imbecile, Madam Mayor. You are a puppet, not of the people, but of an agenda. And you are gleefully echoing everything that our tyrannical governor is saying, and threatening the force of law. Because let's make it clear, I've said this in so many of my videos, the only way that you can enforce any of this is with the threat of violence being brought by the state, by men and women who have put on a uniform and wear a badge. And in the process of putting on that uniform and putting on that badge, they swear an oath to the Constitution, both of the state of Minnesota and the United States. And you are now putting them in a position where they have to determine whether or not they're going to keep their jobs and follow unlawful orders that you and the governor have given. My hope, Madam Mayor, is that if you determine to order your chief of police and his employees, the law enforcement officers that work for him, if you order them to go and break up church gatherings, even those congregations and denominations that I don't agree with, or religions that I don't agree with, my hope is that they refuse, and that they put principle and an oath above their job security and the financial income that comes their way. That's my hope. And I also hope, Madam Mayor, that you remember the oath that you took, and that you finally wake up, and that you resist the tyranny of a governor that I imagine you support. Madam Mayor, you are an enemy of the state. You are an enemy of the people of Minnesota, and you do not serve the people of New Brighton. I hope they turn on you. And at the very least, if they can't get you removed from office, I hope that they boot you out in the next election. And I hope that that movement is started by the Christians that you are threatening in your town. And I hope it is led by the clergy that you are threatening in your town. Shame on you for trying to shame them into compliance with unlawful orders given by you and by the governor. Shame on you. Shame on you. You have forgotten your place. And you will answer to the people, I hope. I hope they remember what you have done to betray them. As always, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for being open-minded. Thanks for listening. I would ask that over here in the corner, somewhere on your screen, you hit the subscribe button. It's important, not for me, but because mainstream media, legacy media, isn't going to get the word out. They're not going to let people who don't toe the established line speak. So for the sake of liberty and for the sake of the defense of this nation, small little independent voices like mine need to be heard, especially the interviews. It's got very little to do with my commentary and a lot more to do with the interviews and the people who are affected when liberties are tread on. So once again, hit the subscribe button, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much.